I'm Farrell.
Hi.
How you doing?
And you are?
Okay, I will continue to let people in as we go, but I don't want to wait too long. So hello, everybody. I'm Krista Liggett, the Heritage Policy and Designations Advisor with the Heritage Conservation Branch at the Ministry of Parks, Culture and Sport. Welcome to the last day of our 2026 Heritage Webinar Series. We hope you've been enjoying this year's presentations. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that Regina, where I'm located today, is in Treaty 4 territory, which is the traditional land of the Cree and the Saulteaux, Nakota, Dakota, and Lakota, and home of the Métis. We make these land acknowledgements out of respect and as an act of reconciliation to those whose land we use and share. These webinars are an opportunity to learn about some interesting historic places. Sorry, that's gonna try to let people in as I talk. These webinars are an opportunity to learn about some interesting historic places around the province and the individuals, organizations, and communities that and all the work they've done to preserve them. But not just preserve them, the historic places we have been hearing about and we'll hear again about today are still serving their owners, their communities in a variety of important ways. Historic places are important not only for connecting us with our past, but also for the contributions they continue to make today. There will be some time for questions at the end, so if you could just hold your questions until then, and you can also pop them in the chat and I'll get to them. And if everybody could just, other than the presenter and myself right now, turn your cameras and mics off. So today we'll hear about Ancient Echoes Interpretive Center located in the RM of Mountain View, also near the Village of Herschel. Visitors to this community-operated interpretive center learn about Indigenous history, prairie ecology, and Saskatchewan's ancient fossil past. The center's archaeological resources include ancient rock carvings and other ceremonial sites. Tipi ring campsites and locations where bison were hunted. So today I am honored to introduce today's presenter, Harry Lafond. Harry is a Muskeg Lake Cree Nation elder and producer of the documentary Custodians, A History of Ancient Echoes. Harry will speak about ancient echoes and the lessons it holds for present and future generations. So thank you, Harry, for being here, and I will turn things over to you.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to this presentation that I've been invited to participate in. Ancient Echoes is one, to me anyway, when I was working at the Office of Treaty Commissioner, one of the discoveries that helped me to understand the significance of Saskatchewan stories. I was not aware of ancient echoes before that time, and I think, like a lot of people in Saskatchewan, the place was well taken care of by the Mennonite farmers in the area. However, it was also not a place that was commonly known by the people of Saskatchewan. So it's been an interesting adventure for me, and the work that I'm involved in as far as creating awareness about Indigenous people in the province, and the need for us to understand that the story goes way beyond what we commonly consider to be the normal starting point. The site itself speaks loudly to the need for us to dig deeper into the stories of our land, of the people that have lived and moved across that land. You see in this first picture the couple of stone stone implements that came into my possession. The one on the left is a mallet. My father, who is a small-time farmer on Muskeg Lake Cree Nation during the 40s and 50s, found us in one of our fields and brought it home. We used it as a doorstop for a number of years and guessed as to what it was used for. The other stone implement, a beautifully shaped stone, is it's an implement that's still in use in many homes. It's a chokecherry crusher. In late August, people pull out their chokecherry crushers and they begin to process chokecherries so that they can be dried or cooked or frozen, and then taken out and used as a dessert or as part of the entree in a meal. But it's an important tool. This one belonged to my mother, and all 12 of us at some point or other were delegated to be chokecherry crushers in the family, and we would use this on a flat granite rock and slowly crush the seeds of the chokecherry so that we could bring out the flavor of the berry into the meat. Chokecherry became important in terms of making pemmican and providing that food that people needed during the cold winter months. There are many things that have yet to be discovered on the land near Herschel. The land is very unique in terms of its layout, and what makes it really special is that it was recognized a long time ago by the Indigenous people as being a special place, a special meeting place. And so Asini, which in the Cree world has life force or life energy, it holds many stories within it, and there are examples out there in the fields surrounding Herschel of some of these rocks that hold stories of people who have come across this land, and and it is, I think, only now that we're beginning to realize, the importance of those stories and the importance of these petroglyphs and the formations that the land holds that are slowly being brought in, within sight of people's experience. Off to the right from this rock or Ashini is another rock, and it was recognized by the people from the Blackfoot that it was a birthing rock. And it's knowledge like this that really helps uh, to help people to ask questions and to become curious about just exactly what was life like when these people crossed this land on their way to either visit or meet or harvest. These places like this hold the bounty of our land here, the berries and the buffalo and the small animals that are harvested to keep the people alive, and to build that relationship between the four-legged and the human beings that lived on this land. You see in the picture here, we have David Neufeld. David Neufeld is probably the foremost explorer of this land, and he's been walking this land for many years, understanding and discovering and sharing his knowledge as people come to visit. He's met with elders from different nations who have come uh, to trace their roots and find meaning in the rocks and in the formations and in the use of the land over the course of their visit. David Neufeld continues to conduct tours, and he's very, very, very respectful of his relationship to that land. He speaks lovingly of the need for human beings to care for that land and to treasure what it holds in terms of what constitutes the creation of this piece of land that people find to be very sacred and very special. Now, this this land happens to also be the pathway for many of the people, especially in recent times. The Crees are recent settlers in this area of Saskatchewan, and it was very common for the Crees to cross this area of our province as they moved to visit their relatives further south. There were many of the Crees had migrated and had settled into close to the Cypress Hills, and they traveled back and forth quite regularly to hunt, to visit, to participate in ceremonies. And people like you see in the picture, like Big Bear. This was Big Bear's route to visit people in Montana and the Cypress Hills and the people in Niconet. It was a very busy area, a very busy traveling area. It was also a place of encounter between nations. The There is evidence of the people from the Treaty 7 Blackfoot Confederacy uh, living and being on the land in this area. And really in more recent times were pushed or moved south under pressure from the settlers coming from the east and the north, primarily the Cree, and sometimes in partnership with Nakota people. And so the people that we see as being residents of southern Alberta had a role to play in telling the story of the land of ancient echoes. The Shoshones and the Gubandras have come, and they've identified their presence on this land. They have since moved south and have settled in Montana and further south to that region. It's interesting to see how much movement was occurring with people who primarily were using dogs as transportation of their goods, and later on adopting the horse, but they were in constant movement. They were constantly being connected with each other as the need arose to either facilitate the eastern drive for the fur trade, or the harvesting of buffalo and other wild animals on the Great Plains. The people moved regularly to settle into areas that required shelter in the cold winters and open areas in the hot summer days that we have here on the prairies. It also the movement also involved major gatherings that occurred in the summer, during the summer seasons, during the Sundance seasons, when this is a time where people came together to pray together, to interact together socially, to share knowledge, to learn from each other, and to talk about the future, to talk about, especially in the last 200 years, to talk about what the impact of the new settlers that were coming from the East, the Europeans, many of them settled in this area here, as we see when we go to the Interpretive Center. They are the custodians of this land. They are taking care of it and making sure that that it remains accessible. So we had we, we had all this movement occurring. However, we also had movement from the east, and of course, many of these brought with them their skills, their knowledge, and they uh, and and they began to make a living for themselves. To many of them came specifically to try to improve their life that was not particularly uh, uh, going very well in their home countries, like Germany, Switzerland, France, England. All of these countries, the citizens were finding promise in the uh, rich lands of this area, and so they began to settle, and in doing that, it, in some instances, some of the important sites that tell the story of the people that were being uh, displaced by this settlement, uh, their stories were also being displaced, in the sense that when you begin to farm the land, you disturb the surface of the land, and you change the environment, and by changing the environment, uh, you change the evidence of the life that the Indigenous people were living in those places. And so that's part of the issue uh, around sites in our province here, as to recognize the value that these sites give to the story of who we are as a people. Uh, when settlers move into an area, they take on responsibility for the history and for the stories that the land has to offer about about the relationship with the people that travel on it. And among Indigenous people, the land is a relative. It's a relationship that needs to be nurtured uh, in such a way as to ensure that our grandchildren, great grandchildren, will continue to have uh, will continue to be sustained by the life-giving force of that land. And so there is a tension between the type of relationship that the settlers brought with them, and how they viewed the land, with with the Indigenous people, who felt that when they say Mother Earth, mother really means that relationship that exists between a child and the person who gave them life. And so these are some of the challenges that come with a place like this. It gives us an opportunity and a place to have conversations and dialogue to to look at to look at uh, how we define our relationship to that land, and where is the common ground, where's the reconciliation that we can work with to ensure um, everybody is is on a common path of sustaining uh, sustaining our developing Saskatchewan culture in a good way for the benefit of our children and grandchildren. Now, if you take a look at the land, this is what it looks like. The land is very different, for, and I think that's what makes it so special, and so full of sacredness to it. It uh, 10,000 years, I think, is being conservative, but certainly the ice age that receded, and the spirit of that ice left this land uh, for us to experience it in this way. It's interesting, David Neufeld has identified many things that lived on this land, including very large animals, and finding rocks that came from areas distant from here, rocks that you can only find in the area of what we now call Manitoba. They were moved here by the work of the ice cover that existed in this area. On the bottom left-hand picture, you see what has been identified as a buffalo harvesting area. It's excuse me. It's it's just now beginning to tell its story to the people who are interested in discovering all the evidence that's there. And as time unfolds here, uh, and um, we're able to do our part, our responsibility to keep this place, to continue telling what stories it has embedded in there. Uh, you can see on the right-hand side, there's another rock, and each rock has many things to tell us. And this was recognized by many of the Indigenous people who saw life and life force in rocks, and were able to incorporate them into their spirituality, and leave that legacy behind. It was interesting. At one time, we brought a group of elders from all over Canada uh, to visit this place, and as we were walking over the land, and especially spending time at the petroglyph, one of the petroglyphs. The good Saskatchewan thunderstorm came up. And of course, there's really nothing you can do about that except try to protect yourself. And somebody had wisely brought a tarp with them. And what the people did was they grabbed the tarp and held it and created a tent type cover with everybody standing facing outwards, and they noted afterwards, isn't that what the buffalo did when they were protecting themselves? They form a circle facing out, and in that way were able to uh, keep themselves safe from animals and from whatever it is that was threatening them. So it's things like that makes it makes a lot of sense for people to understand, animal behavior and our relationship to that animal behavior, and how sometimes uh, uh, we learn from them uh, on uh, how to protect ourselves or to do things that make sense. And of course, as you walk through the land, uh, it's not always it's not always a trip with our eyes to the ground. We tend to look up and we see the sky, we see the birds in the air, sometimes the eagles, sometimes the crows, uh, and but there's a richness uh, that's out there, and it comes in very tiny forms. There is little tiny yellow flowers, and if you don't pay attention to them, you bypass their beauty and your opportunity to appreciate the creator's aesthetic eye, and in sharing that with us. The um, the the rock, the rock, it can become um, the home for fungus and lichen and other small creatures like that. And so this land becomes really a place to train the eye, to train a person to see not only what's up in the sky, but it's also a place where if you look down, there is beauty, there is life, and much of it depends so much on on the environment that they live in, the need for water. When water comes, the landscape changes because the water brings life in, and many of these little flowers, they wait patiently for that water to come, and then they burst into bloom. The the silver colored shrubs, they serve many purposes, and they teach us about working together with small birds who use those to nest. And sometimes if they're shrubs that bear fruit, they provide the food that these little animals, these little birds require through the winter season or any time of the year. But certainly during the winter season, they depend on the bounty of these shrubs, and so all of that, there's a whole experience and lesson that this land provides. And what has happened is that through people like David Neufeld and uh, 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 his people who have volunteered to to be caretakers in the interpretive center have captured some of these and have brought them so that they can provide an opportunity for people to ask questions. There are uh, there are examples of dinosaur type uh, embedded in rock. Uh, and all of this is there for people to understand that this land is ancient. It is really ancient. It carries evidence of different environments, different types of life that responded to that environment. And so we can we can make the assumption that the same applies to human beings as they traversed across these lands under different conditions. What was happening here at the end of the Ice Age when the ice was moving north? How did the people live, and what evidence did they leave behind, to show that they were responding to that environment that was being revealed by the receding ice age. This is also a place. This is also a place of discovery. Joe Coper has a very meaningful and highly spiritual display of her paintings. Paintings that came out of a vision quest that she embarked on early in her life as an artist. She's a Métis woman originally from Manitoba, but now resides in Quebec. And she had this vision about the buffalo, what the story of the buffalo, the buffalo that sacrificed and was forced to sacrifice its life so that this land in the last 200 years would change hands and be replaced by human beings who saw a different way of settling on that land, and not without a sense of responsibility for learning to live with the buffalo rather than to exterminate the buffalo. And so her paintings uh, are very meaningful in providing a sense of hope that the buffalo will continue to offer us what it's done over the course of uh, of the millennia. The the buffalo is a very sacred part of Indigenous life on the Great Plains, and many ceremonies come through the teachings of the buffalo. And so in order for Indigenous people to continue uh, to develop and recover from their encounters in the last 200 years, the buffalo is a necessary element of that, and it needs the spirituality of the people needs to uh, work towards helping the buffalo to find its way back into the lives of the people, but also to find um, a way to live a life that is respected by the new settlers. How do you farm land, raise cattle, and allow the buffalo its own place and its own territory? It's a challenge that we have, and certainly this, I think, places uh, like Ancient Echoes provides us with an opportunity to explore that area. Then we have, of course, at the end of the day, when we've explored this land and we take the stories with us. This is a group of elders that came to visit the site and to walk over the land, and they left changed. They left being reconnected with their legacy of that relationship with the land. And so in the in a Cree world, there's no places too far. We travel and have been traveling for centuries. And so this is a place that needs to be traveled to by not just Indigenous people, but all peoples that feel that we need to do our our duty and our custodianship with the many parcels of land that hold sacred spots, that hold the stories of our province, and recognizes that without without with, without that sense of responsibility, much can be lost, and what is lost cannot be regained. And so it's necessary, and that I think was the feeling when we talked about this with the Walking the Path uh, committee in in Saskatoon, and when we talked about walking the path means we take responsibility and we turn it into action. And out of that idea, then, and with an understanding that David Neufeld brought about the importance of the work that Herschel people were doing to ensure that this place was allowed to be to do its work in building that relationship or rebuilding that relationship with Mother Earth and the stories that that it has to share. And so
Harry, I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt, but I had mentioned that we have that clip if you'd like my from Ancient Echoes, if you'd like me to.
okay, I'm just going to take this off now.
Sure. Yeah, Marvin, you can go ahead and.
Yeah, Harry, I think I have that clip of the song here. A couple of minutes I'll play, and then I thought I would just fast forward to the closing message of the Custodians. So yeah, so this is a clip from the Custodians documentary that Harry's referenced that was commissioned by the Mennonite Committee, co-produced by Harry and David Neufeld. So we'll just show you a little piece of that.
Your marvelous song, We Are All One People. The song was given to me in 1992. Is it okay to get the drum for you? Let's sing it together. Don't get drum. Okay, we use our. This is a steady beat anyway. We are all one nation under one race, you and I. We are all one. We are all one nation. We are all one color in her
So that's just a small sample of the Custodians documentary, and certainly congratulations to Harry and David and the committee and the director for putting together such an important and really impressive documentary. I watched the whole thing, so I'd encourage anyone else who has an opportunity to see it. In fact, I think David Neufeld is on the call today. I don't know, David, do you have any information about how somebody could purchase the DVD or see a screening of Custodians somewhere? If you are there, David, you might be muted and we'll have to turn on your microphone.
Yeah, if you contact Ancient Echoes, contact me. We have copies, we have DVDs, we have thumb drives. We just ordered a new shipment, so they're available for a small fee of $20, and we have. Custodians is a significant word. The community of Herschel have seen themselves and have acted as custodians. The rural population is depleting. That affects the whole issue of custodians. The elders have encouraged us not to bring too many people there because of the spiritual nature of the sites. They said we are not to make it a commercial or a tourist venture, to retain the spiritual tradition of the area. Some believe that numerous people have identified the area as not only a place where people gathered, but a place where the tribes gathered for a ceremony. And so the future of that term custodians is very much in question. Where we are limited in terms of how much revenue we can produce through tourism, but the population is depleting, and so that raises a large issue of what the future of custodian will mean.
Good. Well, thanks for those important thoughts, David, and people can reach you if they want to see the DVD or through the branch here too, and we can connect people. But Krista, I'll turn the proceedings back to you then, I guess.
Yeah, Harry, did you have anything closing, or we can get to questions? That was absolutely wonderful presentation, and hearing about the significance and the connection to the land, and the importance, and seeing that those elders walk through and feeling that connection and hearing about that. It's just, yeah, what a special place. And yeah, Harry, do you have any other words, or do you open up for questions? People,
I think I'll open it up for questions. I think it'll help the conversation.
Yeah. So people can just raise their virtual hand or even unmute themselves or pop a question in the chat. We had a question about documentary being available, so we have already answered that one. Yeah. We have about 5 minutes left.
I think.
Oh, Marvin has a question.
Oh,
go ahead,
well,
Marvin.
While people are thinking about their questions, this might be for David more. This upcoming summer, can people make any sort of arrangement to visit Ancient Echoes?
Yes, the facility is open 4 months of the year, 5 days of the week, and by appointment. The rest of actually open the entire year by appointment. So there will be students there. I have also already been contacted to do a couple of tours. So there's the opportunity to visit both the center and tours of the ravine.
It looks like in the chat there's already some interest possibly about doing that. Someone says they're been inspired to revisit. And then Krista, I noticed there's another question or two there too.
Yeah, there's a couple questions. The first one is about who owns the site. There's a question from Colleen.
Who owns the site? The the ancient echoes, the building that is owned by the rural municipality of Mountain View. The sites in the area, the bulk of the tours that we have done in the past, at least, are in what is called the Coal Mine Ravine, which is not an Indigenous name, but we have never discovered the Indigenous name for that ravine. But that's the focus thing of the tours. There are many other sites. In fact, the whole from Battleford to Asquith, the Eagle Creek, there are thousands and thousands of it's all virgin prairie, and there are thousands of sites, many of them unidentified. We have done limited work in the area beyond the coal mine ravine, but we have done some. 2 years ago, Graham Revering, the archaeologist who's a member of our board, did some research there and discovered an ancient Sundance site. So there's always possibilities.
They asked about who owns the land. It's on private.
The land itself is of the coal mine ravine. That is private land. It's private pasture land. There's the Eagle Creek Valley. Some of it is community pasture. Some of it is also private land.
But Ancient Echoes has an arrangement with them, an agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And about protection of the site in a formal way. It is Herschel is a municipal designated
Site.
heritage site.
Mhm.
Yep.
Marvin, did you have anything to add for that?
No, that's for people who aren't familiar, maybe that's a form of protection that's enabled by the Heritage Property Act, which is the provincial heritage legislation. So that would have been enacted by local authorities. The local councils there would have used that power to both to protect and preserve the site.
And also any archaeological sites would be.
And the area is
documented.
posted by guidance only. And so we try to limit. We have quite frequently have people coming to the center and say, how do I find these sites? I said, well, we'll take you there. No, we want to go on our own. We said, no, you don't go on your own. That we have believed that it's vital to the protection of the sites that it be by guide only.
Yeah. I see also there was a question about contacting for booking of a tour, and somebody has nicely put that link in the chat as well. So seems like you're going to have some tours to book. I think we're at time, but certainly if anybody has any questions, I can pass those on. You can reach out to me and I will, pass those on. And so, that brings us to the end. Again, a huge thank you to Harry again. This has been wonderful having you. Appreciate that you took the time to share with us today. I also want to thank David and Randy Clausen, as well as my colleague Marvin, who shared us their video, but just helped also coordinate this webinar. So that concludes our program, and this brings us to the end of our webinar series this year. Thank you again to our presenters. We couldn't do this webinar series without you generously giving your time to be with us, to share your stories and the stories of your projects. So again, thank you to all our guests that came. We appreciate your interest in our webinars and hope you enjoyed them. and hopefully have you back next year. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great afternoon.
Yep, thank you.